All right. Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Lake Lore Town Council to order on October 9th, 2018. I would ask everybody to stand for invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings you've bestowed on our community. As we gather here in public service to our town and its citizens, we ask for your divine guidance and wisdom to help us govern effectively, to do what serves the greater good and best interest of our citizens, and to be good stewards and guardians of this beautiful place we call home. In your name we humbly ask these things. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right. We'll begin our meeting this evening with the adoption of our agenda. Commissioners have an agenda before them, and I would ask if any of the commissioners has any changes, additions.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
First of all, under new business, we need to delete item A by request of the applicant.
Yes.
That was a request from Mount Branch Library for two additional community banners. They have withdrawn that. Under the consent agenda, I did make some amendments to the minutes that I've shared with Michelle, and she's got those all straightened out. If we need to move that to discuss those amendments, we can. Basically, under one of the sections of new business, she repeated what was in the other section, so now she's putting the proper information in that block. So other than that, we don't need to do anything on that. Item B, the resolution that's under there, we could leave it, I believe, under the consent agenda, but we simply need to amend the title of it, where it says, let me get to it right quick. On page 50, or I'm sorry, 20, those are still the minutes, they're long.
20 what?
Gosh, okay, on page 38, at the top it says, under the title it says adding a new section 2. Those simple words need to be changed to amending section 4. On the title of the...
I see that, yeah.
Okay, and that's the only change to that, and we can leave that on the consent agenda.
Everybody all right with that?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
If everyone agrees with it.
I think so. I think there's consensus here.
And then under item D, we have an ordinance, amending an ordinance, which is the golf cart ordinance. I believe this amendment is unnecessary, and I'll tell you why briefly. If we want to discuss it, we can move it to new business or leave it on the consent agenda, or take it off the consent agenda. But during the discussion on the golf cart ordinance, we clearly stated that inspections were coming out. We took it out of the table of contents. We took it out of the text, and the form was made a portion of the packet, and I even brought my forms from that night, and I had inspection deleted here and marked out at the bottom of the form. And so I believe that the implied intent of the council and the will of the council was to remove everything relating to inspections. Therefore, I don't think we need an amendment to the ordinance. And by voting on the consent agenda to delete it is agreement with the statement I'm making now. And I think that should satisfy it.
I'm fine with that. There was some discussion whether it needed to come back, and so more or less out of an abundance of caution, we decided to do that. So
I understand, but I think we sufficiently covered it, and implied intent and will of the council was to remove everything regarding inspections, and which we did during that.
I'm fine with it. If the consensus of the board is to remove it, then that's fine.
So I would say A and B is amended, and remove D from the consent agenda.
Commissioner Weber, was one of your changes in the minutes about, under Mr. Airwood's Public Works report, is that one of the changes that you asked Michelle to make?
No, it was under new business, section G, page 33. That was an amendment to the lake structure regulations, but the text after it is the one that was talking, the actual resolution she put under there was the one we did the same night about the Lake Advisory Board.
Okay.
So she just needed to take that out because it's in the preceding section. So,
Okay. I had under the minutes, on page 24, under Mr. Airwood's report, Commissioner Kilby noted that large pines are growing on the backside of the dam, and that was vines, the NES vines. So it'd be nice if we had pines, we could let them grow themselves and pay for part of the dam repair, but unfortunately it's not.
Okay.
So
Is that your only change?
that's the only thing I saw here.
Everybody all right with that? All right. Any other suggested changes to the agenda?
Did we not want to add tonight the emergency preparedness briefing, or you
I
just
think
want to add your mayor's
under
comments?
the town manager has agreed to
Okay.
handle that under his communication.
Okay.
Well, and that is the last item.
Okay. So with that, I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended.
All right, there's a second? Second, sir? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, well, that moves us now into the agenda, and the first item, which is item 3 on the agenda, is my communications, and I have 2 items listed under Mayor Communications. These are the 2 areas, I guess, ongoing projects in the town that I am probably most involved with, that being the dam repair and renovation, and the low-pressure sewer system and wastewater treatment plant project. And so I'll give just a brief report. Quite a bit has been going on, thankfully, since the last town council meeting. And among those things are that we authorized Schnabel Engineering, you recall, to embark on, and we authorized them to begin work on 6 tasks listed under a task order number 1 under their newly approved contract, and they have begun working on several of those tasks. They were on site here last week, early in the week. Their field team was here and their project manager for a few days, and they were conducting field surveys in and around the dam, and they were also conducting follow-up inspection on some items they wanted to take a look at in the dam, and that included some geological investigations or observations they wanted to make around the base and the perimeter of the dam. And tomorrow, Shannon and I will be going to Greensboro, which is where their office is, where they're basing this project out of, and they have arranged a meeting with the head dam safety engineer, for the purpose of just going over with him where we are with respect to the repair and renovation project and what we've been doing in the recent past as it relates to improved operations of the dam and the management of the lake, and just how we've handled the last couple of significant storm events, which we think were successful. And so I think this is a good step in terms of us being able to see hands-on what Schnabel is doing back at the office, which we intend to do, and look at any work products and deliverables. But in addition to that, our goal would be simply to get a good dialogue going directly between the town and the state dam safety engineer, which we think is important going forward. So we're doing that tomorrow. And Dr. Marks continues to be involved, or he has been, in working on a couple of things we authorized back several months ago that included items that were requested by the State Dam Safety Office, that included the H&H study or analysis and the emergency action plan. And he's been working on that now for several months, and he submitted the first of those two deliverables to us about a week ago, which was the H&H study. I reviewed that study. I have issues with it, things I need to address with him. He had been in surgery, so it was difficult for him to travel this past week. But as soon as next week, I would say, we'll have him in town. Schnabel has also been reviewing not only his H&H study, Dr. Marks' study, but also they had been reviewing his dam safety reports, the original reports that led to the project. And they have, as I understand it, they told me quite a number of questions for him and that. And so we're trying to arrange a meeting where maybe Schnabel can come over and he can come down and we can all meet here, hopefully next week. So that's going on. I understand, I was not a part of this, but maybe Commissioner Cameron or Weber would comment. I know the two of you have paid a visit to the dam to kind of look at things and to identify anything of a fairly, I would say, minor nature that would not necessarily be covered by Schnabel at both the dam and the hydro station. I know David Arrowood was there with that, and I think maybe Donnie or John.
Donnie was there, and John both. And
so I don't know if there's anything, Bob, you want to report on, some things? Yeah.
Sure, I'll be glad to bring them up to speed, especially since David's got a check that's going to be due in the next month. But we did a complete walkthrough with the small turbine, and looking at that, they closed it up today on the lower end, which is what has been holding us up for so long. You'd been taking a cast product put in 1926, 1927, and now you're putting a machined piece back into it for the turbine section, and I think the tolerances were probably too close, so they've had to pull it out, put it back in several times, but today it got closed up. So with that, we feel like probably about 3 to 4 weeks, they should be ready to run. But I did get a commitment by end of November. They will be up and running on a small generator, and probably sooner than that would give them a little bit of leeway. Also walked through to see some of the electrical and things in there, and it's like a dark dungeon in there. Also, basically need a bunch of LED lighting on both levels. We need to do some painting on the walls to get some light reflecting off of there instead of absorbing all the light. The building needs to be actually pressure washed, primed, and cleaned up on the inside to get some reflectivity out of it. We need some outlets in there that have ground fault protection. Everything they're using right now is directly off a standard circuit breaker, and you have water on the floor, often an inch deep, and there is no ground fault protection for any of those circuits. So those are direct problems that, for the time being, they need to use a pigtail with ground fault protection on. On the upper end, up on the where the floodgates are, we'd actually looked at that several years ago and determined that we needed some type of shed roof over the top of that. These guys are going out in the middle of these storms and hurricanes and trying to raise and lower these gates. I recommend to the council here that we actually have some drawings somewhere originally, but we need about 10-foot high shed roof made of metal, maybe bring it halfway down the sides to keep the blowing rain off the guys. Then we need to take floodlights down each one of those chain compartments, a good floodlight. They're having to do this all by flashlight in a rainy condition with cords everywhere, and need to give them some undercover lighting and well they can switch on and off. So my plans are in the next weeks to compile my list, go back with David and crew, ask for any updates. Also, we need to calibrate the meters. All the instrumentation's never been, or it's been a long time since calibration. We have a 5 kV, 5,000 volt switch in there that will need to be turned off to do some painting and grinding on the metal frame supporting the high voltage cables coming in and out of that plant. And my recommendation there is to get a company like Instel out of Greenville and have them come down. They're certified, they can rebuild the switches, but they'll certify their operations, and then that way when we turn the switch off, we know we can turn it back on. And we've had cases that they didn't work before. So we're compiling all that list. It was a great walkthrough. Appreciate David taking us through, and Donnie and John and everybody there, and Steve was there with me, and we need to do some lighting and maintenance and get that back up to speed there, but especially up top where they're having to work in bad weather and holding a flashlight to see how many leaks are coming up, so we'll have a report for that hopefully in 2 weeks.
Did you cover the steel structure?
That's what I was talking about on that high voltage switch.
Yeah.
We have to turn it off.
A lot of metal deterioration.
Yep, so we need to same.
There's also a ground cable that's exposed, about 1.5 feet of it exposed above the pad, and one of the folks actually tripped over it yesterday, either Donnie or David, I don't remember which one, but that needs to be fixed and buried again under the concrete as a safety measure.
And one more thing was that I need to get council's approval, but they've got a fuel tank, 1,000-gallon tank, that was written up by the state of North Carolina to be relocated and moved. Turns out the state won't tell us where to put it, so when we walk in the parking lot, we picked a spot. I'd like to be able to tell David it's okay to move it there. It's about 30 feet away from where it is now. The reason for relocating it is right against a buttress there. So odds are nothing would ever happen, but if it did, it would blow out part of that buttress on the back side of the dam. So by getting it 30 feet away, it'll eliminate that problem, and it's a safety issue as well as satisfying the state write-up. So we picked the spot, gave David some variance there, asked him to bring the gas company out, make sure it's okay with them, and let's get that done ASAP if we would.
The gas company will do it, right?
Well, gas company will move the tank and everything, but we just need to maybe have to put some bollards in front of it for protection, but we'll coordinate that with them, but I'd like to get the council to approve.
Yeah, it seemed like no one could ever agree on the location, and as you go in and your parking lot, it widens out, it's right on the left at the entrance to that parking lot where that big rock came down. So there's plenty of room for it there, and David agreed it's a good spot.
Do we need a motion for that, or can we just get everybody agree it's okay?
I agree. That's a good spot for us. That's where we have to
Do what's
as soon as we can, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Put that on your list.
I wanted to continue on, because you said things not under the responsibility of Schnabel, basically, and we looked at the penstock inside and where the welding had been done in some places and where further work is needed, but apparently nothing is, it's never been well defined that is something Schnabel is going to do. And I brought that up during the conversation, the meeting with Schnabel at the time, and also during the budget. We still have the head gate, the hoist issue to take care of, and we've got the penstock issue we need to take care of, and we need definitive, I think, information on the approach that's going to be taken, cost, and so on. Commissioner Cameron and I have asked numerous times for the estimate that was provided well over a year ago regarding the removal of the hoist at the head gate, and we've never been given that information yet. So I'd still like to see that. There are other options besides using a helicopter. So we think that that can be changed drastically in that estimate.
David, do we get an estimate? Yeah.
We did.
Let's just share that with them, so.
I told them I would.
Yeah.
Actually, when I got it, I forwarded it on to the previous manager.
Oh, okay. Somewhere.
Somewhere, I don't know, but I can go back and.
Get that?
I can pull that up,
Okay.
and I can make sure it's.
And we'll bring this up tomorrow when we're in Greensboro. Just make sure they're covering that. We've asked them to do a couple of other things, that probably like the downstream hydraulics, to try to lower the back pressure on the.
Yeah, if you recall during that meeting.
They'll do whatever we ask them to do. It just.
Well, that penstock's important, it's just, it's been a while to get out the thin plates.
Yeah.
And the discussion yesterday was why not encase it in concrete was David's idea, which makes sense. You'd have to key the concrete, but you could seal it and encase the whole thing and never have to do any welding.
Just prep the penstock so the acid won't eat through it.
Yeah, no, seriously, seal it. And that's a great idea David came up with.
Sometimes he comes up with stuff.
That's the
like
first
that.
one I've known in the last 2 years. But his agreement is that generator's not running by the end of November, he'll write a check for $50,000.
Independence.
Get this in the minutes, I didn't agree with that.
I'd like to just make a comment. I pulled up yesterday with he and Melody, and I said, hello, sweet pea, and he thought I was talking to him instead of Melody. I really got worried in the parking lot about that, so. Yeah, we got a lot to write, I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah, and one more thing there is we do still have that extra vehicle, Donnie's old
down there.
vehicle, still sitting down there, and we need to decide whether we're going to repurpose it here or get rid of it, one or two, but it may be something they need to use in Parks and Rec or somewhere, or maybe replace another vehicle.
Just thought about, now, we just authorized 2 full-time operator positions, and we're gonna have a second operator or a third operator, and maybe that vehicle can be used there.
Right, but we need to,
Maybe we want to hold on to it for the time being.
It's just sitting there.
just say,
Figure out what to
oh,
do.
speaking of that, did you get rid of yours?
I got all the lights and sirens and everything pulled off of it. Got it moved out, started, ran, cleaned up.
I saw it was-
Got to do the paperwork for the gov deal.
I appreciate it, I saw you moved it, so I just,
Okay, well,
saving those insurance and tax dollars.
let's switch gears to the low-pressure sewer system real quickly. That's Brown Consulting is working on that for us, and right now, we had authorized them to move ahead on the engineering report that includes, what it is it's a feasibility, I guess you'd say a feasibility justification a study that is required by the funding, the SRF funding agency, in order to, they've already confirmed our funding, but they need that, as part of the documentation. Basically, what it says is this low-pressure sewer system and a wastewater treatment plant overhaul is your best option, not the green line. That's the bottom line of it. And included in this study will be an environmental assessment of all of the alternatives, including the one we recommend. So I think what they're going for is a statement of non-impact. I think they believe that they can obtain that through this study. So that's ongoing right now, and Shannon and I had Jeffrey Brown in here, Shannon, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And we, for the purpose of sort of inquiring with him as to where he is with the engineering study, we asked him to submit whatever work products he had, and he did. And so we sat with him and went through the schedule and what he's working on. We asked him to furnish us with a couple of documents that would at least show me what the engineering report will look like when it's done, so I can compare that to what he produces. So anyway, it seems like that's moving along. The completion deadline is slipping, but apparently, according to Jeffrey, it's slipping with the concurrence of the NCDEQ. He's working closely with that. So the Utilities Advisory Board has become very active in this project under Wayne Hyatt's leadership, and they have been scheduling a series of presentations with low-pressure sewer system suppliers, and there's apparently several national or regional companies that do that, and their expectation is that we'll learn a lot from them practically about what these systems can do and can't do and how much they cost. And so they had the first, at the last advisory board meeting, and someone will report on that, Bob. They had the first presentation. I'll let you report on that, but seemed like it was pretty impressive. I wasn't there. And somewhere, I think back in the closet, there's a full-scale display exhibit of their grinder station set up with storage tank and so forth. Yep. So I don't know, we might open the closet for anybody that wants to take a look at the thing. No, it's pretty impressive.
They're impressive. The pumps will lift 185 feet, which is unheard of for a 1-horsepower motor, and it only has an 1.4 discharge, and that's totally unusual in the industry.
Yep, and there are several others, and they're going to schedule them to come in at each of the meetings, so we...
Will those be the regularly scheduled utility meetings?
Yes, yeah, that's what they're...
Somebody wants to come.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Invited, yeah. And then lastly, just last Thursday, was it, Channing? He and I and David, we all hopped in the car and along with Richard Glasson from the UAD. We all hopped in the car and we went to Highlands, North Carolina, where they have a system that we find would be very, very similar to the system that we would probably employ here. They're a community of about the same size, a resident population of a little over 1,000, and it's a highly seasonal tourist area, you know that. And they, when their tourists are in season, they think they get up to about 6,500 folks living there, and that's around what we look. So that's a really great, I guess, point of connection, somebody that's already done this, been there, so we hopefully don't have to reinvent the wheel too much on our system. So we intend to continue to work with them, and they have agreed to provide us with a good deal of their experience and information. So that's it. So all right, so that's my reports, and I don't know if you have any questions, and if not, we'll move along.
We appreciate it.
All right, so we move now into item number 4, which is the town manager communications, and Shannon's got a whole laundry list of things, and staff sitting here in the wings,
And they're ready to go.
ready to go. Yeah.
The first item on there is Commercial Center, which is something that's the strip center that we've been working on for quite some time now to develop plans, and those plans just came in today, this afternoon. So that's from Brady Tracus. And so we will call a meeting of the steering committee for next week. We will review those plans, and then we'll begin to move forward. We have been kind of holding back the Welcome Center renovation for this to catch up so that we could request proposals at the same time for the Welcome Center and the Commercial Center. And that's hopefully to incent folks to submit bids. Perhaps we can get one contractor to do both. So that's where we are with the Commercial Center, so we'll have that meeting with the steering committee next week. Plans just came in this afternoon, so we'll begin moving forward with that.
Date, set for that yet?
Have not, no.
If you don't mind, I'd like to review those at some time, those drawings. Just before or after the meeting, just whenever you got a spare day, I'll just like to go through them.
Commissioner Kilby will let you review those plans, Commissioner Cameron will let you review them.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Shannon, on that, and lumping the Welcome Center into that, what about, first of all, we had 2 different steering committees for those 2 different projects, and we also had an original timeline on this new bidding process for the Welcome Center. So what effect does this lumping together have on that original timeline?
We had to give on both sides just a little bit. We're not going to throw the Welcome Center off too much, but it will have to adjust just a little bit to make up for it.
Yeah, we had 2 or 3 months in there from bidding to before actually started work anyway.
That's right.
So,
And the goal is to have both complete before next season. That's our goal.
So we may need to invite both steering committees. Since you had 2 separate steering committees for those 2 projects, you might need to invite them both to that meeting.
It's a good thought. Let's certainly take a look at that, see if we can make it happen. Sounds good. Okay, next item, we've got a couple items. David's going to talk to us about the geotube installation at the wastewater treatment plant and then the hydroelectric plant, which Bob has really already covered, David, so that may help some. But the geotubes, where are we with those?
I talked with Keith Webb from McGill yesterday morning. I explained to him, as y'all put it before, that we're bleeding by the way we're paying these pump trucks to haul this stuff out. He has got in touch with a contractor that's agreed to remove the stuff. Everything has been approved, everything's in line to take to the landfill. That contractor says it will be 3 weeks, and he will be on site to start removing. He says it will take 3 days to remove all of it. Once that is removed, there's 4 dumpsters down there that say they're owned by Albright. I don't know what company's got that now. I'm gonna have to get those removed. Once they are removed, me and Don Byard are gonna go in there and grade the pad ourselves. I spoke with Don this morning, and I told him that we need to get up with Keith and see what size geotubes were spec'd for that job. We need to go ahead and get that stuff ordered so we can have it ready to go in, because I don't want to be sitting here waiting on it when the other stuff's gone. So hopefully we can get some of this stuff ordered and here by the time the old stuff is gone. And so we can get in there and try to move it as quickly as we can. Shannon sent me another email just in the last day or so showing me the last month's haul bill, which is very, very expensive. So we're doing everything in our power to move as quickly as we can. Once that stuff's gone, then I'll I can be the one to blame then, because I've agreed to go in there and grade that pad, and Don's agreed to help me to do what we can in-house to try to keep the cost down as much as we can. But the way he's explained the system to me, I don't think it'll be that bad to do. So that's where we're headed on that. So,
Were you able to tell Mr. Webb that he needs to get back to you a lot sooner than what he has? I was looking at your report on 8/28 and 9/24, and you still didn't have an answer.
yeah, and
We need these engineers to respond a little quicker than leave you hanging.
Yep, I agree. And when I talked to him, he said, he still hadn't got an answer, and I said, that's not helping me any. I said, I've got people I have to answer to, and I need to know something. He said, well, I've sent them an email and said they haven't responded.
For a month?
Well, then the next day, I get a response that he had got from them just a few days ago. But yes, it is a problem, and hopefully,
We need to bring them in here and let our management
Right.
correct them a little bit,
Right.
but there's no excuse to take a month to get back to you on that
I
stuff.
agree. But until the old stuff's gone there, we can't start putting the view in because we're so limited in space. Any of it's been down there. I know those 4 dumpsters that's there now is taking up all the space we need for this new system. So it ultimately has to go first.
Once we get the new geotubes in,
Yes.
what's the anticipated time it'll take to fill them before they have to be removed and replaced?
Well, I've had 2 different people tell me 2 different things.
Okay.
The engineer has told me he estimated $40,000 annually to remove that sludge using the geotubes. Our operator seems to think it will be more than that, because he says at the end of the day, it may be $40,000 annually to remove like we are now. But he said that does not take care of the sludge that is in that basin, that has been held onto in that basin for years. And he said, eventually, it's gonna have to go.
Yep.
I do know that Byers Environmental is doing a good job the last couple months. All of their tests that we have been failing in the past are passing. I mean, they're getting a thumbs up on every sample, every test they're doing. So that proves that the plan is usable. So they're working awful hard to kind of keep the state off of us on that end. I do know that everything's passing, but it's a big expense. I do think these geotubes, from what I've been told from numerous people, will be cheaper, but I don't know how much.
So we'll have to pump them out or move them every year?
Yes, what I've been told is all of the solids that we're hauling out now in the pump trucks will pump into those tubes. All the water will drain back off of the tubes and be pumped back into the plant, into the clarifier. And then when you haul it, you're just hauling dry sludge.
Right.
You're not hauling liquefied water.
Got it.
At a big price. So you're getting rid of solids,
A lot of weight.
solids at that time.
Are those tubes reused?
No, they're.
One and done.
Once they're full, they're cut open, loaded on trucks and disposed of, and then you put new ones in. But I don't think the cost of the tubes are tremendous, the way they talk.
I remember asking Ron Nally when we were going through a budget exercise about that, because he didn't have any disposal costs for,
Yeah.
and I think the answer was, that he told me, or us, that he was told that it took 2 years, with those tubes, however many we were gonna put out there, we were gonna fill them, and it could hold up to 2 years worth of sludge. That sounded a little excessive to me, but we need to check that
I
out.
don't think it will last that long. I don't think it'll last nowhere near that long.
Yeah, I
Just to be
think we
honest.
should.
Initially, I think you could probably fill a couple of them pretty quick, just to be honest.
We may find that our system is heavy on sludge. It has to be canned, has to dry,
Yeah.
and they can be hauled. But however it works, it's going to be way cheaper hauling dry than it is wet.
That's exactly right, because that
And that's the bottom
holding
line.
tank down there that they're pumping out of now, the storage capacity is not there to be able to decant off.
Well, how much gray water we still have going in there every day right now? How many thousand gallons?
Into the plant, we're at 500,000 a day now.
Is that the excess or that's the
That's
average flow?
Total, the average flow, yeah.
How much of that is leakage?
I don't know. I don't know what the comparison.
What were we after we did the wrapping? We went from, we used to be like 95% gray water and down quite a bit from there.
Way more water than solid.
Yes.
I think the problem is that we've had years and years of accumulation that we've got to deal with sooner or later.
That's what I understand from Don.
Some of that's going to be at
For
one
years
time.
and years, there was no wasting going on, and we're not getting rid of it.
I will tell you, the engineering report, which I just read, that was done for the Green Line, projected an average daily flow of sewage, of normal sewage flow of a little over 200,000 gallons a day. And at that time, they were estimating around 130,000 gallons a day of lake water infiltration. I think the original number would be high, over 200,000, maybe in season, but not in the off-season. And so if we're getting 500,000, I'm saying that I'm saying more than half of that is lake water, and I'll bet you 2/3 of it is lake water.
I agree with you.
This is probably a real premature question, but just to throw it out there, that sometime when you guys are in a meeting, I wonder when we get to the point of the low-pressure system, how will that change? Or will we be going to a totally new treatment system once we go to pump grinder, low pressure?
Absolutely.
So it'll be a totally different.
Yeah, it'll be a biological, just like it should be, a biological treatment system, one that's similar, but much smaller scale than the one we saw in Highlands. I think ours would be half that size.
But we'll still be hauling sludge, or is it?
No, there'll be sludge, and the system we saw up there looks really attractive, where they literally, they go through what they call a belt press. After they thicken the sludge, they go through a mechanical device that literally squeezes the water out of the sludge. And what you wind up with is mud, is fairly dry, solid, and just, and you can, for a system our size, you can rent those things, and they're talking about coming in maybe once a year with that filter belt press. It comes in on a trailer and working for a week or two, and our sludge would be gone. That's what they're doing. So, well, they all
You did that from day one with the new plant.
Yeah.
You don't
They own theirs, and I think they got a deal on it, but it's kind of a waste to own that for a system our
I
size.
bring that up is that's an offset to the sewer costs.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendous. It'll be like it would be.
The hydroelectric plant, Mr. Weber, Cameron, I thank you both for coming down. I invite each and every one of you, if you have any interest or want to come and look, to come at any time, go over it. I'll be glad to show you what I know. John and Donnie will as well. I was really tickled when I went back down there this afternoon and John was going around that base ring with a torque wrench, torquing all those bolts down. So basically, the part that has been machined and rebuilt, that we sent off to Powerhouse Mechanical, is in the hole and bolted in place.
Awesome.
So we still got to put the flywheel on, we still got to set the little unit back over on top of it, which will still take some time. But those pieces were not machined, they were not altered, they were not changed. They came apart, so they should go back together. There is some links and stuff on the bottom, as you've seen, Mr. Cameron, that's got to go on to work those wicket gates, but all of that stuff is slick as a button. I mean, he's got it working extra good. And so I was tickled to see that.
And it looks pretty, too.
I ain't gonna comment on that. We didn't choose the color, that was just the color, that ceramic coating, but yeah, everybody's tickled, especially John, he has worked super hard on that, and, you could see the weight come off his back when he pulled it back up and sealed that thing and closed it off for the last night, because he's really worked hard on it, and, so, like I say, any and all residents are more than welcome to come at any time, and if we can show you anything about it, I welcome you, I'll take all the help I can get.
Sounds good.
Thank you, David.
Yes, sir.
I got one more thing for David while we got him, if you don't mind. On your 826 report, you said radio man is installing new communications between tanks and wells and Chimney Rock water system.
Yes.
Those tanks have been overflowing.
Yes.
Why don't we have a float switch in there?
That, I don't know, that was that way, the way I understand it, for probably years.
Right.
And you know, that's not our system, but we do look after it for Chimney Rock. And,
All we gotta do is series a
well,
line with the control circuit.
there is systems put in now that Chimney Rock Village has agreed to pay for, to put in, so the tank and the wells can communicate. So when that tank gets full, exactly what you're saying, it'll cut that water off. We've been in a situation where those pumps have been on timers,
Right.
and if you don't stay on top of it, and you don't pay attention to it, the reservoir will run over. And some people downstream from the reservoir have made several complaints that we are dealing with now. With good reason, I understand, I wouldn't want it running on me either. But we have lowered the water level in the reservoir since those complaints started coming in, and we have stopped the overflow. But once this system is done and buttoned up, the two will communicate together, and it will turn itself on and off, and it will not overflow.
Because that was such an easy fix is what
Right.
I saw that. And it was-
Right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, David.
Next item we have is lake cleanup and lake dredging. Dean said he was going to stop lake cleanup until January of 2019 if the storm didn't stop. Dean, give us a little update on lake cleanup and what you guys have done, if you will, please.
Okay, with this last storm, it kind of caught us by surprise. It targeted more toward the Drumlin Bald side. We did spend some time cleaning up over there until working in the shallow area up against the beach caused the motor to pull in sand and actually pack the motor full. Had to get a new pump or new water pump put in the boat, get it all cleaned out, so we quit pushing it out on the beach in the sand. We did finish cleaning out several trees and parts of the bridge that had failed, and a lot of big debris and stuff. We finished cleaning that up, and we also finished cleaning up Buffalo Bay, and we started working on the main channel of the lake, and then we got announced with another storm coming. So I told Shannon that I was gonna take off till January, because I was like, I can't get ahead for nothing, you know.
But we at least have our new boom out here.
It's not in the water yet,
I saw it strung across there the other day.
no, that's the dredge pipe, got the big orange.
Oh, okay.
That's the
Okay,
dredging
I'm
pipe.
sorry, okay.
They're actually assembling.
Yeah, the boom is right now laying in the ABC store parking lot,
Oh.
and it's almost completed to being assembled, and if everything goes as planned, we're gonna try to put it in the water tomorrow.
Well, maybe the dredge pipe will stop all that stuff from this
We're
next
hoping.
storm.
Well, we're hoping to have the boom in place tomorrow. We're gonna try to get on it in the morning and finish putting it together. The anchors have already been put on each side of the river, so the boom is ready to go as soon as we get it finished, getting it assembled. And thanks to Public Works, their guys, they worked on that boom all day today, trying to get it assembled and brought over and put together with no instructions. They figured it out, but it's about ready to go, so hopefully we can get it launched tomorrow. And as far as the rest of the lake debris, we're kind of, for the next day or so, we're waiting for this storm to come through and see what else it throws at us. When we get past this storm, then we'll get back on lake debris and try to clear that up.
So Dean, as far as your lake cleanup protocol goes, and how can lakefront property owners help out with that, and how do you handle that?
Basically, lakefront property owners, if you got a lot of debris around your dock, or boathouse or whatever, we ask that you get that up onto a dock so that we can get a boat to your dock and be able to load it onto our boat, is the best thing that they can do. And to be on the debris cleanup list, all they need to do is call town hall and give them their name and address, and we create a list. And then, once we get the main areas of the lake open, and for just all the main areas open, then we go back and we say, okay, now the second phase of this is to start cleaning up boathouse or docks where people's piled the debris on their docks. And if they're on that list, we will get to you. It's not first come, first served. It's sort of an area that I'm working in. I'm not gonna jump all over the lake trying to get them. I'll start on one side of the lake and I'll work my way up, getting the addresses as we can, which is a much more efficient way to do that.
Good deal.
I'm looking at your lake operations report. Working on the Boardwalk Marina project, been working with the company to complete a financial feasibility study for this project. Is the financial feasibility study you're referring to different from the revenue study that we asked for regarding the new marina building and the shared?
I believe that's the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Same.
Now, we awarded a contract, or we allocated money and all that, and for a specific company.
Yes.
So,
Martin.
right, and so how far along are they, do we know?
We have just received the final copy. Was it earlier? No, it was late last week. We received the final copy on that.
It's fine.
But, a lot of this was emails and phone calls back saying, hey, get me the information on this, get me the information. So we've been feeding them the information that they need, is kind of what we've been doing with that study, but we just got that study back last week.
Okay, now that's the revenue study. Now, we also awarded money for the surveying and so on, for all of that. The boardwalk, I believe, is part of that?
Yes.
And has that been done?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. What do we have in the way of reports from that, or product?
Pardon?
Do we have a map or?
We do have a survey map of it, and I had forwarded that on to Eric Woolridge. I've forwarded it on to them, that we're actually laying out the parameters of the boardwalk design.
He was a guy from Destination by Design, wasn't he? He's Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And the small pond repairs are going to begin in October by the gas station. Do you foresee any problems or issues there?
The only problem I see, and I got yelled at today by by Melody, said she didn't want her display tore up, but other than that, that project's ready to go. We have a contract signed, and Tim Edwards is trying to do this in a method where when he's bringing his track hoe into town, it can be dropped off there, complete that project, and then move to the Boys County spoils bid.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Two things. I saw Melody buying more pumpkins this afternoon up the street, so you watch out for that. The second thing, and David and I had this conversation some yesterday or today one, I can't remember which, but in regard to the fine debris at the dam that's making its traverse around the lake, a couple of things that I mentioned to David, just to mention to you, just to have for the record.
Okay.
The boom that's across the dam now, we've got it pulled back. It's got the two big half-moon sags in it, so all the trash debris is gathering there and won't go anywhere.
Okay.
A suggestion would be to take the boom, looking at the dam, the right-hand side up to where the dock is, get it on an angle down to the last buoy to the left of the penstock.
Okay.
Where that's straight, because what happens when the wind comes from the west, it pushes it back in there.
Right.
When the wind switches to the east, it rolls it all back up the lake.
I got you.
okay? And that's where the majority of it's going, in those 2 half-million things that are forming there, but because of the wind and the water current.
Right.
The other thing we're gonna have to come to a time to do is to stop generating and open floodgates long enough to pull the debris to the trash gate, because now the generator's running, it's pulling it all right into those 2 things,
Right.
and it's trapping it there, and it's not making it to the trash gate.
Okay.
Sunday, there was a tree that had gotten across the trash gate. Mr. DeLorio helped me, and we got that off and put it over there on the barge beside the fire. Now, that doesn't happen that often for something that big to get down that far, but it had. So just some things like that. The wind is crucial in how we get rid of that, the wind and the current.
Right.
And if we're running the generator, it doesn't make it around to get to the trash gate. So we're going to have to, if we're going to have extra water the next few days, it might be an opportunity to open the floodgate closest to the trash gate to get the stuff to start pulling toward the trash gate to go on out. So that's just a suggestion from my,
Okay.
years of observing how that happens all the time.
And just to give an update on that boom, I talked to Derek Cunha yesterday, and he still says at the end of October, he will have that
Finished.
finished. He said he was still on time and
Now, we're still
it would be done.
replacing the boom in front of the trash gates, right? I mean, in front of the floodgates.
Well, we're gonna,
From the shore.
that boom will still be there, but there's gonna be an anchor put in underwater that's gonna hold that boom away from the, from.
Well, I say that because we have people that love to, there's no boom there, and they love to try to go over and pick over the floodgates
Right, well,
in their boats.
there'll be a boom there. There will be a boom.
I've yelled it several, so.
You can't fix stupid.
Can't fix stupid, that's exactly right.
Anything else on the lake?
Dredging, I guess.
Yeah, if you could touch on dredging just a little bit. Dean, where are we with the dredging program this year? And I understand it's underway.
It is. I talked with council last year, and my understanding from this board was to get dredging started as soon as we could. We've been behind for several years with the last dredging contractor. We've also received our grant that we've got to spend X amount of dollars, which that us being behind ended up causing us to file for an extension on this program. So if I understand it correctly, dredging has begun already. You wanted it started as early as it can. The dredge is up and running. He worked on it all week, last week, getting it put together, getting the pipe welded together, getting everything put into place. He's got the dredge running now. He worked Monday and today, and he's already got 2/3 of the pit full over there. I mean, this dredge has got a lot of power. It's, the last dredge we had on the lake was an 8-inch dredge. This is a 12-inch dredge, and it's really moving some stuff. He's still working out a few little issues here and there, nothing major, nothing to delay him. As soon as he gets the dredge working the way he wants to, then he will set up the sand plant and begin processing the material. But right now, currently, he's just pumping it into the pit to make sure all the dredge equipment and stuff works.
What are his hours that he's working?
His hours are supposed to be 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay, and reason being is Mr. Proctor's concerned about his guests and such in that area.
Yes, and I explained to Mr. Proctor on Saturday, I did not know Tim was going to be there. He didn't come in there to work. What he had done, he'd been working all week long, trying to get everything up and running, and the only thing they were doing Saturday morning was they fired the dredge up to make sure the pump was going to engage and pump. And then they shut down from that, and other than that, his hours are Monday through Friday, unless this board deems that, weather has prevented it, we're running out of time or something, some unbeknownst problem comes up, then it would be up to this board to decide whether they wanted him to dredge on Saturdays or not.
Do we have a certain time of day before he can start?
It's 8 a.m. to 5 with the dredge running.
Okay. And is that consistent with our dredging strategy and policy?
Yes, sir. And the only, that's the actual dredge running is Monday through Friday and the swell fields.
Dean, I was under an understanding that there was some regulatory period during which we could dredge or could not dredge. Is that the case here?
Well, not here.
Not here?
Yeah, not this time of year.
Okay.
The time of year that we cannot dredge, according to the state, is from March 1st to June 1st.
Okay. To June 1st. So it's a very, yeah, that was lost on me. I thought it was a much longer blackout period or whatever.
No, it's just.
Just a spring spawning season.
And we discussed this at length at the Lake of Patrick meeting last Monday. It was going to be part of my report, but I'll do it now.
Okay.
We're questioning whether that is an issue for Lake Lure, just like the trout. The last study we did, there were 2 trout found this big in the study that we did. So we're going to ask the state to study again. Michael Yelton's there too. He knows a lot about that, about spawning and trout and fish in general. And for the most part, the only spawning that's done is done in the river and not in the lake. So we're questioning if we can even get into a situation where possibly we can eliminate or shorten that March 1st to June the 1st and increase our dredging time. So that's one thing we've asked.
And Mr. Hossenfuss has already begun work on that.
Gary Hossenfuss is working on that.
Well, I found for a lot of years, we accepted what we were told and didn't ask a lot of questions about certain things like those policies, John. And it's a good thing to question them. So,
Well, one thing's for sure, over the last several years with these enormous storms we've had, the amount of sediment that is now deposited in our lake is probably unprecedented. And beyond where the dredge is working now, I mean, there's wide areas of the lake right now that are just barely navigable out here in the main channel, where the point is, and I hope at some point, our dredging plan addresses some of those areas sooner than later, because we're getting to a point where things like our tour boats are going to...
I am hoping this season of dredging, I am hoping to get out in that main channel some and start opening up at least a path through there this year. Our main concern is trying to get a hole dug in the river right now to catch the other sediment. But if we can get some size of a hole that we feel like will hold some sediment, then I'm going to have him move out.
Move out and start cleaning out the channel.
At least trying to open up a channel, even if it's just wide enough for a couple tour boats widths, and then kind of show them where that line is and allow them to travel that until we can get
the rest
bigger
of it,
bites at the apple on it.
Now, the other thing I was going to ask you to address, because I know it's something you're working on with Tim Edwards, apparently Tim has a commercial barge, steel barge, that he had been keeping up in Lake Adger?
Yes, sir.
And that barge has a backhoe, small backhoe on it, that could be, and is used for various things, shoreline construction, but it also could be used for spot dredging back in areas where, the big dredge, probably with the pipe in it, wouldn't be practical. And so are we marching down a road on that, or with him? I know you've got some cost numbers for...
Well, that was if we wanted the thing deployed right away.
Yeah.
But I think that working with Tim, I think it's something that he will absorb the cost on when he moves it in his time.
Okay.
So, if we can go that route and save some dollars there, we'll go that route. When we're talking about the fees, it was like, okay, we need you to drop everything we need it here tomorrow.
Yeah,
that was going to cost us. So,
yeah.
since we didn't go that route, I think there's a way that he'll come and mobilize himself as long as this board approves.
Well, I would be surprised, based on what I've seen up in the area of the resort marina and their commercial facilities, if there isn't a significant movement up there to try to get some dredging done themselves
Right.
in those commercial areas, and that would be, I would seem like kind of an ideal platform
Well, just
for
a few
them
weeks,
to do that.
just a few weeks back when we brought the lake down, you know, if you can't understand what our problem is by being able to walk most of the way down toward the main part of the lake with no more than we had it down at that point. I mean, it's scary. I said a few months back, if you want to see what can happen if you don't stay on top of it, just go to Lake Edgewood.
Right.
And drive up to the top, and they've got those little buoys that help their boats get out from the marina, 1,000 yards down the lake to get back to where they don't drag the bottom. So it's something, if we got to the point where we could dredge 12 months, and stay, I'm not, stay out of the traffic area during the season, but, we've got to move and act on it. We've got to loose our lake. I mean, we're sitting in the lake right now. Everybody realizes that, of course. This used to be a lake.
Yep.
So Dean, I think this is probably the answer may be obvious, but you've worked with LAB to come up with a dredging plan.
Yes, sir.
The dredging plan has been discussed by this board, been approved by this board. We have an understanding as to when you're supposed to dredge, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and the times of the year. So is there any gray area you need to have clarified as to what you're supposed to be doing out there?
No, I believe everything's, the only other thing I would ask is that this board give Shannon, and I don't know, you may already have this authority, but if we get into crunch time, there's been bad weather that couldn't dredge, and we end up having to speed up on dredging as we get toward, a period of time that we can't dredge, such as March 1st or something, that instead of waiting for a council meeting to authorize a Saturday work or whatever, if Shannon could have that authority to be able to say, if we're in a bind, there's something that's went on that's held us back, that he would be able to authorize that opposed to waiting till we go to a 1-month meeting or whatever.
It could be that, or it could be a special meeting.
Is there,
That can almost be done by consent.
That just email out.
is there,
Just want to speed it up if we needed, if we had to do it.
Just send us an email. We can do it just by email, and basically now the Lake Advisory Board's taken over basically what used to be the old dredging committee.
Yes.
So just let the Lake Advisory Board go through that process. Okay, I'm trying to clarify for Jim because there's some questions he asked the other night, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Just want to report on the HR payroll position. We have an interim person who is basically taking over the HR duties, and so she's doing a fantastic job. And so she is there until we fill that position permanently. Ads were released today and yesterday, so the ads are out, and so now we should start receiving applications. She can be here till the end of November. We're going to work as fast as we can to have that position filled. It is an important position for us to have filled. So I just want to let you know that we're working to fill that position.
Sharon?
Yes, sir.
And I've not mentioned this to anybody, but I think maybe we think about a little something special, memorial or something, at next month's meeting for Anita, for 30 years plus service. That's, maybe you've already thought about doing something like that or whatever, I don't know, but let's get our heads together and come up with something. I'm telling you, she was a valuable asset for 30 plus years.
I think her family would appreciate that. Mr. Kelly.
I hate to be the one to bring it up, but from the last 2 or 3 years, the discussion on the HR position was that it was to be downsized or outsourced or eliminated or cut back to part-time or merged with another job position, all based on the Gray Rock study. I'm wondering what's happened with that. If we're already advertising for a full-time and not changing anything, then that goes against what was discussed for a long time. And Commissioner Moore, you were the biggest advocate of that study.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, where are we? Are we planning to go now full-time and fill it, or are we going to try and do what the Gray Rock study recommended?
I think Shannon is
we assign some duties within the department there. I'll look for a recommendation from Shannon, and you got a copy of the study, you know what it was and all, and before we hire anyone, that we should revisit that maybe, and just, I think you had some recommendations, maybe mentioned some recommendations at one time, and we can delve back into that. But the main thing is we want to make sure that we've got adequate but not overstaffed.
Right. Okay, I'll take a look at that again, and if there's specific direction the board wants to give, I'm certainly willing to entertain specific direction.
I guess probably Kevin and I are the only two not familiar with that study and stuff, but maybe you can get me a copy of that so I can familiarize myself with it.
Be glad to do that. And just because we're taking applications doesn't mean that we'll follow through, but we've started that process. And at the same time, a parallel exercise will be, we'll take a look at that study and review it and make sure that the mayor and Commissioner Kilby has a copy.
Those particular recommendations were on page 46 of 48. Right near the end. Once we get email, I've got an email copy on my phone I can forward. You got a copy, or do you need me to forward it to you?
Send it to me.
Okay.
If you got it, it's ready to go.
Yeah, okay.
That'll be quicker.
You need your input too much, Shannon, you know.
Sure. Been able to observe some while I've been where I currently am, so
Well, yeah,
I'll be glad to weigh in on that.
once the town's computer system comes back up.
Right. So the next item is, we've had two items Dustin's going to cover for us. That's the Duke Energy meeting regarding Boys Camp Road, power grid, and then Everbridge communication system procurement. So Dustin, if you give us a little update on that.
The Duke Energy meeting went well. It was held on Monday. We had to reschedule it due to previous storms and such. Mr. Norrie came and voiced his opinion and some of the concerns on Boys Camp Road, and had some valid concerns and some issues. Duke Energy released a report to us saying that in 2018, as of November 5th, that power had been out on Boys Camp Road that they were aware of 10 times. They sent a crew through to do a vegetation management study. They have a 30-foot right-of-way for the power lines, and that does not include trees that are above in elevation. So if they have a danger or hazard that's above their lines in elevation, it's up to a discussion between the property owner and Duke on how that's going to be resolved and taken care of. Duke says that those hazards have a criteria they have to meet before that Duke Energy will take responsibility for removing those hazards. So it's 15 foot on either side of the power line is how they look at that 30-foot right of way. We did meet with some representatives. Commissioner Norrie was there, David Airwood was there as well to go along, and then Duke Energy sent some, a community kind of liaison between Duke Energy and us, local municipalities, emergency services, and also homeowners. And some of the local area supervisors were here. They went out and we done an evaluation. Mr. Norrie got to show them some of the areas of concern that he's seen on Boys Camp Road, and they made note of those, and we're going to reevaluate and assess if they could do any further than what they've done on Boys Camp Road. They did feel like, I feel like they've seen some areas that they can make some improvements, and they felt like they were willing to make those improvements and willing to work with us any way possible. We discussed different ways. I talked about the main feeder line coming off of Memorial Highway, how Memorial Highway is shut down on a regular basis from these trees and landslides and acts of nature that it's not gonna be fixed. We live in the woods, it's gonna happen. But we talked about different avenues that they're pursuing as far as getting different feeder lines, maybe from Hendersonville or maybe from Old Sand Branch Road from the resort over into the Boys Camp area. And they said that they didn't feel like the infrastructure over in Fairfield could support feeding the backside yet, but they were willing to work toward that area if the town was willing to pursue that avenue as far as Old Sand Branch Road and that way.
Let me, Dustin, if I may inject, when I spoke with Craig DeBrew
Yes.
with Duke, floated the idea that Sand Branch Road could be a way that we could backfeed either the resort or vice versa back into town, and that we're certainly looking at the West Side Connector at some point out that way, and just wanted to apprise them of that as we begin to study that, because, and then he let me know that the grid, the lines get smaller and smaller and smaller, and it would have to be beefed up in order to carry it on through. The lines are certainly small, and they just don't have the equipment to push it from one side to the other unless a new system is put in.
And then the same reasoning why we don't have a feeder line coming from Hendersonville, they said the distance was just too far for them to be able to feed adequately enough to Boys Camp Road. It was a tremendous help just making contact with them and letting them see our concerns and see what the homeowners are concerned about. And they come to the table. They'll do what they need to do to, fix the issues, I feel like.
One of the concerns, I think more so than the loss of power on the main road here from this location to Highway 9, going up to Ingalls, is from a safety standpoint.
Yes.
An emergency services standpoint. Power is important, but nothing's more important than being able to get ambulance and fire trucks and all that stuff through there.
Right.
And how many times have we had that shut down for hours?
And we expressed those concerns to them. Right now, and we went over the policies and their response procedures, got better forms of communications between some of the supervisors and us. But their policy is essentially the same that we've been operating on, is if our emergency responders put a priority on it, then they put a priority on us. But they have the same issue as us, is if they're down in Cliffside working, it's gonna be an hour travel time just for them to get here, So,
I think a lot of the frustration too, and with my electrical background, is that there's really no reason they can't get that tree out of there faster. I know one time we sat in Boys Camp for, I think it was 9 hours or 8 hours because the tree's down, and they only wanted their tree crew from Aspen to come up here, and while somebody else with a chainsaw could, this tree's only a 12-inch tree and nobody would cut down, the power was off, there was no doubt. And they blocked the entire road and leave people sitting there for 6 or 8 hours. To me, we need to work on where we can at least get one lane open. I've operated bucket trucks, there's no reason you can't set a truck at one utility pole, get that utility pole fixed up, and then, but what's happening to us, we're getting total blockage. And there's no reason for that, especially since you get the first line truck there, your first utility truck, he's gonna check the cutouts if they're open. There's no reason you can't do like they do their normal work and block one lane or use a flagger. And I'd really like to see us focus on this to keep a lane open while they're doing this work. Instead of just blocking the road, you got families with animals and kids, and they're blocked for 8 hours or 6 hours.
Makes no sense.
There's no sense in that. I've worked in that field for 30, 40 years. All you gotta do is have a flagger, safety cones, and you work one side of the highway, flag them around. But it's frustrating to see these trucks blocking the roads, fire trucks and their trucks, and everybody sits there and just twirls their thumbs, when if somebody would organize that and say, okay, boys, what side do you want to work on first? Go over here, work the right side. When you're ready to lift that span up to the other pole, you may have to hold it for 20 minutes or something to let them pull those spans in. But there is no reason to leave these roads blocked for this period of time. That's a coordination between you guys and utility. That's where I think we need to work, if you would please, for our community.
And I understand, I'd be willing to work with anybody on that as far as keeping at least an egress, a route of emergency for us.
But your staff
But our
doesn't do that.
staff can't touch the lines until Duke Energy releases that to us.
But this
And
is
that's a
that-
safety concern.
But this is after lines. I'm going to give you a conversation, and I'll keep it mellow, but just a second. During that instance, I walked up there and spoke to one of the firemen. We don't know anything, it's just whenever they tell us we can open the road, we'll open the road. I don't know anything, don't want to know anything. We need to work as a team and say, okay, team, you're going to know something, you need to tell this guy that we've got to keep one side open. All you have to do is say, we got to keep a lane open, let us know when you need to block long enough to pull that span.
Well, if that incident happens, feel free to contact me and we'll
Okay.
deal with that.
Yep, because I investigated that one after about 4 or 5 hours. I kept getting hammered sitting there myself, and I just pulled up an hour, that's all I spent. But please, let's get back with Craig and these people again and say, we want a procedure to keep one lane open at all times after we're assured the power's off. Because their excuse, they sat there almost 2 hours for Aspen just to clear the tree. And every one of us around here has a chainsaw. And I just,
Can I think, after our discussion yesterday, I think that will improve, because the communication was open.
right,
There had been, by the looks of it, no communication in the past.
right. But what this has to do is get to that field response lineman, the supervisor, because if not, they're going to take the whole road, and like I said, you're going to sit 2 hours for a 12-inch tree to be cut down.
I totally agree.
We got to interrupt that and make it.
That was one of my main concerns to them, was you close the road, you leave it closed, and it takes forever.
Right.
I think that Dustin and the big guys, there was exchanges of telephone numbers and so on and so forth. I think the meeting yesterday will help that.
Well, and I certainly hope so, and I appreciate your help on this, but I just know that if it's not addressed, if there's not you or somebody saying, okay, guys, which side of the road do you want? If that doesn't happen, people sit there for hours. And we just need your help, since you and your crew will be the ones there. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dustin. Everbridge, tell us about Everbridge just quickly, if you will.
Everbridge is a new program. It's not a new program, it's new to Rutherford County. The Sheriff's Department has invested time and money and effort into getting it established. It's essentially the same thing that we use currently as far as the Code Red system in the event of a flood or some kind of emergency message that needs to be sent out. Code Red's been used here in the town since before I came. I was hired in 2008. I've been here for 10 years, so that system the same system has been used for 10 years. So you can imagine the updates and the availabilities to the program. And if everything goes as it's planned, the county Sheriff's Department has absorbed a whole lot of the cost of this program. There will be some cost to us, but it's a fraction of what we're paying currently for the subscription to Code Red system. And I'm still checking to make sure that the changeovers, the availabilities, the capabilities of the program is going to be the same, if not better than what we currently have. I know the previous administration was kind of a little bit leery of the switchover. Code Red has a private policy when somebody signs up to use Code Red that they can opt for a privacy policy, and I'm not sure the clarifications on how much they can release to us to make sure that everybody gets switched over. So we're still going through that. And as Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Everbridge also connects with Nixle reports that law enforcement sends out. So it's it's bringing all of the emergency services programs that we use currently kind of together in one program, and the cost is being shared by a larger portion of the county. So it should lower our cost here in Lake Lure for that program.
So we just want to let you guys know, it's a new system that's currently being looked at, it's been implemented countywide, and it may be something that we want to
The
piggyback
sheriff's
off of.
department and every municipality in the county is transitioning to use this program.
Is it same frequencies and all, or is it a whole new frequency set up?
It's just like an e-blast, and it utilizes the internet, email, text messages, and stuff like that. So there'll be no broadcast or anything like that. It'll just be what we have to do.
If a municipality such as us or any others in the county didn't want to change for any reason,
Right.
would there be compatibility issues with the county using that, staying on Code Red? Or
If we stay
or
on
the Nixle system and so on?
If we stayed on Code Red, it would be totally opposite from what the rest of the county is using. The county's certainly not trying to push this on us. We can keep our old programming if we so choose. It's just better interoperability between agencies and municipalities.
Well, that's what I'm looking at. If we did stay on Code Red and they're on Everbridge, do we have a compatibility issue on information?
We do. We would only be able to send out the messages that we generate, and would depend on the county to either duplicate those or to create a message, hopefully with the same information that we would want.
So they're not trying to force us, but we're gonna have to anyway.
You don't know,
Well, come on, if the whole county, rest of the county goes to it, I guess we're gonna have to.
we can stay on Code Red.
Fire sale.
So Justin, in terms of who we send now Code Reds to, we obviously have the ability to send them to all of the residents or addresses in the town of Lake Lure, is that right?
Yes.
In addition to that, is part of that notification downstream of the dam, people who are living in Rutherford County or elsewhere,
Yes.
do we have the capability to send out Code Red to them, or does the county need to piggyback on our Code Red? in order to get
Currently,
to them?
anybody who's signed up to receive a Code Red notification, when I draw the affected area on the map, it will send out a trigger to anybody inside of that area. But they have to sign up for Code Red, it's not push.
Yeah, so if there are folks in, say, downstream in Rutherford County that are not signed up for Code Red because the county's using the Everbridge
Right.
system, then, and they don't sign up for our system, then it would be difficult for us to get notification to them, I would think.
Yes, and Everbridge has already worked out compatibility with most of the carriers, Verizon, AT&T, stuff like that. And I even got a notification on my cell phone while on vacation in Gatlinburg last year about a lost person. So anybody who signed up to get those notifications, if a notification happens in that area, you're going to get it.
Is there a big expense to change from Code Red to Everbridge?
Everbridge is cheaper because more people is taking on the expense.
Why would we not want to change? I guess is the question I'm asking.
The only reason why we wouldn't want to change is the worry of the switchover. So giving our folks that's already signed up to receive our Code Red messages time to switch over to Everbridge. They have to do that on their own. I can't do it for them.
Well, you need to send them,
permission.
you need to send them a Code Red.
Yeah, if you send it at 2:30 in the morning, and I jump out the red, it goes off over to them, I'll change it.
So Dustin, two takeaways, it seems like to me, is the industry standard is moving towards Everbridge, is one, and our industry being Rutherford County. And then the second item is, I just forgot my thought. Well, the cost, yeah, that's right.
Well, we were talking about cost savings, and I'd like to know generally what that's gonna be. There ought to be a way to quantify that.
Every bridge is gonna cost $700
A year.
for the police department and the fire department to use it annually.
Okay, and what does Code Red cost
Code
us?
Red, don't hold me to the figures, I think it's in the ballpark of $1,800 annually.
Okay, good.
I just thought of my second thought, is we just have to manage the transition.
Yes.
You know, we just have to, it's about implementation. We shouldn't let that keep us from doing what we need to do
That's
if the
right.
industry standards changing. We just manage that.
Right.
So we just think of a way to get that done, so.
And one more thing, I want to thank you both for getting with Duke and getting that set up, that communication. I just feel that's really important, and I appreciate y'all going through there and getting everyone online, because I think it helped out.
I want to, I might not have said this to all of you individually. I have told one or two folks, but I want to thank you and the entire emergency preparedness team, all the folks in the town that were involved, the manager, the mayor, for the Alberto response as well as the Florence response, and the preparedness that we showed for Florence. That was outstanding. And I know we're going to talk tonight about the preparedness for this Michael, but I want to say thank you. Excellent job on everybody's part.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not too big on some things, but I'm telling you right now, here's what I see the big thing with. And I'll say that in the past, be careful, for 4 months, is there's focus. There's focus with the staff, there's focus, I feel like up here, there's focus to get focused on the things we've got to be focused on. And I think that's the reason, we've got focus from the community. That we're focusing on getting things identified and getting things done, just like Stephen said, that's evident in our staff and everything else that goes on. So thanks to everybody for that.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Dustin. The next item we have is the firing range. We can get the chief just to give us an update. That's a situation where we had the firing range that was there before the school went in, so we've had to kind of manage that situation a little differently, and so we've put some things in place to help with that. So, Chief, where are we with that project?
I'm glad to report we're probably 90% complete on that project. The stormwater catch basins are complete and working. The only thing left is putting up fencing, which actually got started last Friday. And talking to the engineers, they expect completion by the end of the week. When the fencing is complete, the whole project is complete. The only thing that might slow them down is Michael coming in. But other than that, I'm sure even with Michael coming in by the following week, we should be totally complete on that project. And I'd just like to thank Mr. Burton over here. He's helped me greatly in this process. It's not something in my wheelhouse, and I couldn't ask for better help than Brad on this project.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Sure. Any questions about that, Council? Next, two items are Mr. Burton. It's the Duck Cove property, Tron Bay, and then the things that are left to try to resolve with Lakeville Classical Academy. Mr. Burton.
Yes, sir. First off, thank you, Chief. That was not necessary, because you wouldn't believe how much he's been helpful too. So, good evening, gentlemen. Duck Cove property, we are coming to an end on that. Spoke with our attorney via email last week, and correct me if I get something out of sequence here, he's got to file one more default, declaration of default or something like that, whatever that term is, with the clerk for one of the parties that was very difficult to find. And once that occurs, the next step is to essentially file to get the thing into court before a Superior Court judge. Anticipating if we can get on the calendar, get everything smoothly going, probably being in court physically to have this heard as a reference for requesting a default judgment by the court sometime October, late October, maybe early November. Does that sound about right?
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Said it perfect.
So that's, it's been taking a while, but we have, it's run its way through the judicial system the way it should, and we'll have somebody in with a set of robes give us a little bit of authority once this is done. And we're not, our respondents have not even, I think our attorney had a conversation with one of the parties, and he said he was going to have his attorney call, and none of that's ever happened, so they're definitely in default. So anyway, next thing is LLCF. I spent a lot of time with our attorney lately. Had a great meeting with him this afternoon. The LLCF issues are about 6 issues that are just related to utilities, specifically utility infrastructure, some future use, and just cleaning up some easements and some plats that are mislabeled, and trying to secure a level of understanding between the two parties as to future access and future use of the property by both the school as well as the town. As you know, we have adjoining properties too there, and some of that utility infrastructure on there would be beneficial for future planning endeavors by the town. So our goal is to try to have that nailed. I don't know if I gave you this deadline. I think I did it in an email. Try to get that nailed down by Thanksgiving to where, and it's, our attorney is also working for both entities, the school as well as the town, per the agreement that we had with them, just as an effort to expedite and have continuity and everything. So,
If I could just clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're actually working for us, and they're going to cover 50% of the cost?
That was my understanding.
Okay.
I don't have an attorney-client relationship with them. I'm doing this for the town, and they're pitching in, basically.
I was at that meeting, that was my understanding.
That's right.
yes.
That's your understanding?
It is.
It is.
Okay.
See the building on.
Anything else from me, because my dogs are barking? And I just want to go on record, I'll say, yes, I did bring my dogs. My wife is in Texas. There's no one at home except a cockatiel, and the dogs would have left me a nice surprise. They're actually in the cage.
Mr. Burton, you're free to go.
Thank you very much.
Those are just police dogs.
Right. So the last item on there was just the emergency preparedness team met this morning at 10 o'clock to try to pull together a plan of implementation regarding the lake level given the storm that's on its way. That plan was crafted, it was sent out, and so we, based on an email response back from some of you guys, we decided to call timeout and discuss it tonight. Dustin's going to briefly go over that plan, and then we'll have that discussion.
Do we have a copy of that plan?
I do on my iPhone.
Got it on the email.
Did we get the actual plan, or just the?
An email that outlined.
It's just some bullet points of.
We couldn't get on. I have it still down?
It was down.
It's just bullet points, maybe you can just go over what the bullet points are. and then-
What I read was, I'm okay with, and that was basically lowering the lake to 3 feet by when tomorrow?
Yes, we were
Down 3 feet?
there's 4 bullet points. The first bullet point was after discussion with Donnie and the team. We started we wanted to start opening up one floodgate, 1 foot, to get rid of some water, to draw the lake down, hopefully to a 3-foot down mark by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
So how much water are we expecting?
Right now, the rain forecasted for our area, we're still in the 2 to 4 inch range.
And what does that generate in lake rise?
That's a Donnie question.
I personally think we're overreacting too quick myself, but that's just me.
That's why we
Yeah.
had the discussion.
Every time we get a big rainstorm, we can't jerk the lake down 3 feet. That's not what we do. It's not our responsibility is to put out what comes in, not to jerk the lake down every time we get a big, I understand it's a storm, and we could get 6 inches, we don't know. But,
I'm not trying to speak for Donnie, he's not here, but his concerns and the reason for the drawdown, and working close with Snobble the last time, there was better calculations on what we could get rid of versus what's coming in. But Donnie, and I agree with his concerns, were that the ground is already saturated up in our watershed area, and that whatever falls is not going to be absorbed by the ground, it's going to be direct runoff into our lake. With the past 2 Saturdays ago, the rainfall that happened in Broad River, we got every drop of that, and we only received 1/4 inch of rain here.
well, we can never forecast to figure that out, but with all due respect to Donnie, if Schnabel was saying it, or somebody else, whether, I just, the fact that Donnie's determined that the ground's saturated, and we need to jerk the lake down 3 feet, I just don't.
Dustin, let me ask you this. I know there was some discussion about how fast we should let the lake either rise or fall prior to getting the repairs done on the dam. Is part of this because of that and wanting to have the lake not rise or fall quickly, or is this a discussion we'd be having even if we were after the dam repairs?
That, there's some stipulations there that, we got some different ideas about how fast the lake should come up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that had been determined, that was not accurate. Am I wrong, that Dr. Mark's determination about raising and lowering that, and that's determined not to be an issue?
The rates. Schnabel did have some, he gave us some numbers. Schnabel's numbers were a little bit higher than his, I think, 2 foot a day.
In a 24-hour period, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's raising or
was a
lowering.
limit, yeah.
And I'm not picking, Justin, I'm definitely not picking on you. We've never reacted this way to 4 inches of rain coming. Never.
Do you want to continue on?
Yeah, why don't we let you hit your bullets, and then where council would like for us to adjust, we're happy to do that.
And I don't want to throw all this off on Donnie. It was a team effort.
It was.
We all,
And I conferenced in, and I listened, and I heard the reasons, and there was consensus among the group. And
So,
I support the plan that's being presented.
with the next bullet point, it was, with this being the 3-foot drop down, we'd still be able to produce electricity throughout the whole storm. We were trying to hold that 3-foot mark throughout the storm until about 75 or 80% that we felt that the storm had been reached, and use the remaining water income to refill the lake back up to normal operating level. And then that's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah.
When we let it down for the last storm, did we go down 4 feet or 3 feet?
7.
Yeah.
And that was under the direction of the engineers that we have.
Yes, that was under the direction of the engineers.
That was when the big hurricane was coming.
Yeah, and that's when, to be fair with the engineer, that's when there was 16 and a half inches of rain forecast in the so-called escarpment area, that the area of precipitation forecast of 16 and a half inches encompassed the entire 95 square mile tributary area. So we had to plan for that event. And it wasn't up until the last 48 hours that really changed.
Yeah, we came back up in a hurry.
Yeah, we came up. I'm surprised that was concerning to me that we came up that fast.
I watched that graph on the net there, and it rose 5 feet in 16 to 18 hours.
Yeah. I think that's something we should regulate in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's loading a lot.
Really.
And that all lowering it, all it did was give us that storage capacity. And I partially agree with John. I understand what he's saying. Commissioner Kilman, John, not Commissioner Moore, John. But I know we haven't done that for a long, long time, and I thought the reason we were doing it now was because of the issues with the dam and to try and prevent that extra influx. We definitely have to prevent anything from going overtopping. And we have to minimize the amount that we open the gates at a certain period of time, and we have to do that in a very specific order.
Operating in that manner for the last storm for Florence, we got very little complaints from downstream. It was well accepted from the amount of discharge that we were letting out of the lake and how we managed it.
And they were already saturated too.
Yes.
Very supportive downstream. Well, we will certainly, I think we're learning as we go, but, you know, we're not going to defy the collective wisdom of this board, so we're certainly happy to adjust. Right now, the lake level, we have stopped releasing water. We're holding the lake where it is.
Where is it now? Is that
I don't have the MSL.
It's down about 6 to 8 inches, I think. Maybe a foot.
Well, what if we just drop it a foot and we evaluate tomorrow? I mean, during the day and when the weather forecast is updated.
We're all ears.
I mean, I'm just throwing this out, but right now.
We're going to be with Schnabel tomorrow, not that we have to wait till we get to Greensboro at 10 o'clock or whatever it was. But I would like to get their opinion about their recommendation on floodgate management to pass a 2 to 4 inch storm. What level of storage would they recommend, if any, that we should establish in order to minimize the threat of overtopping, which I think is pretty minimal at a 2 to 4 inch storm?
The latest forecast I received before this meeting was the flash flood watch was going to be in effect from about mid-afternoon, about 2 p.m. tomorrow through Thursday.
So we would have time to react if we're down a foot.
We need to have some kind of,
I think we should agree.
we need, and this isn't going to happen in the next day or two, it's going to take a while to develop, but we need to develop a procedure manual of how we address this, because we have storms come all the time, and we can't have all this, we can't reinvent the wheel every time it comes up cloud. So, and it's not as big a deal this time of year as it would be in the summer. But we need to get this ironed out during the winter months and come up with a plan now, so moving into next year, we all know, we anticipate,
and David and myself have had some conversations. I think that with the implementation of some better lake management as far as getting Donnie's and Pell, and with the 2 positions that you guys have, approved, then that should we'd be able to implement and set that policy in place a lot quicker.
We've been saying that we want to begin managing this dam more from a scientific management approach than just relying on one person to make all those decisions. And that's going to require that we put in stream gauges, rain gauges. We begin to automate, we begin to do the things to collect that data to help us. And then based on the forecast, anticipating, you can drop the lake level where it needs to be based on the forecast. And then as you start to get rainfall and water in these tributaries, we can adjust real time. It's going to take some time to get there. And then having the operators is also going to reduce some risk, because now we've got more than just one person who's available 24/7, which is an extremely risky position.
Unless I am terribly wrong, we've had this dam topped one time. That was the first flood we had in 93, 4, when the floodgates weren't working.
6. The big one is 6, another 6.
No, they were fixed then, we didn't top then, it was before that, I think I'm right, but I could be wrong, I'm getting too old to remember.
Several times it went over there.
In 2004.
Since I've been here, that's the only time I remember that happening, if it going over, the top.
For tonight, are we okay with letting it down? You're already down about 6 or 8 inches, down to a foot, until talk with the engineers and maybe reevaluate from there.
That's fine with me.
And make sure that the engineers, as you talk to them, realize that it's not, that
that it's a bigger deal letting like water up and down on this lake than it is other lakes. We got our boats and all in this
Yeah,
little boat town.
and they do understand, they were here, and
If it's a state issue, if it's because the state's on us, that's totally different.
Yeah.
the state is watching us.
Well, I know
No
they're
question
watching.
about
I
that,
understand.
their predisposition of the state is to create storage. But that's, if we can demonstrate that we manage effectively without 7 foot of storage, well, that's our
Well, if we go to the process of creating storage, that's a brand new thing for us.
I know.
We've never done it.
And we're kind of in a brand new, let's face it, we didn't operate the dam in the past the way we have decided to operate it in the future. And we didn't realize some of the problems that are associated with our dam structurally and otherwise that we didn't know in the past. So I wouldn't necessarily just use our past experience and the lack of a catastrophe as a roadmap to go forward either.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want that roadmap to become permanent. Once we fix our problems, then we would look at going back to
We've gotten,
the way we were.
we had lunch with the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and based on Dr. Marks's analysis and the state's review of his analysis, the concern is not only from the Dam Safety Office, which is a division of DEQ, but also the North Carolina League of Municipalities has now gotten involved and has expressed some concern about their carriers wanting to insure the dam. And so we've met with them, and we've sent them letters to what actions we are taking, that we're under contract with engineers, we're doing everything we can to protect this dam until we can follow through with the renovation. And just today I received an email from the league that said, we want a copy of your plan to prepare for the storm that's coming. So
I
whatever,
think that, Shannon, that's the first time I've heard that they've made that an issue, and I would like to know those, if you're in a meeting and they all of a sudden say that's an issue, I'd like to know that, if possible.
I'd like to make this recommendation that we drop it a foot overnight, and then reevaluate by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, based off the weather report and
Is that when
information.
we're meeting? Is that when you're?
Is that when we're due there? Is it
No,
10? Yeah, 10 o'clock, we're due there in Greensboro, so we'll start out that meeting with that question.
And then make adjustments as needed by weather report, which y'all get from your end.
David, can you actionize that? Drop it, go ahead and take the lift below, a foot below.
That way you're a foot down overnight, and in the morning at 10 a.m., that should give you plenty of time to react. And I looked at it before the storm's not going to hit Florida till Thursday, I think, and then Friday, so we've still got 2 more days.
And we're talking about a foot total, not a foot in addition to.
Right, that's correct.
989 would be the...
Yeah, 989.
We may be 4 inches off.
Yeah, right.
And at 10 o'clock tomorrow, they'll have discussion engineers, and we'll have a more updated weather report
Then we can go to the next,
at next level.
Whatever that is, if it's different.
And you'll have that answer, Shannon, at 10 o'clock tomorrow?
Well, it'll be we'll meet at 10, so it'll be...
We'll be in
shortly
Greensboro
after 10.
at the engineer's office at 10.
So we'll know whoever we get the information from.
And
Might be noon.
we can sit in that office and we can pull up the weather report, and they'll know that the dam is a foot below normal pond, and then we can sit there and discuss it and maybe make
I
a
think
decision.
that some of Donnie's concerns, and y'all can correct me, y'all were there at the meeting as well, just in the little bit of rainfall that we got, last night, the lake started coming up, and he tried to manage it, and he was successful in managing it with the big generators that, and he didn't have to open floodgates, he didn't call me at all. So, I think he was we're just at that point though, any kind of rainfall, he sees an instant change in, level.
Well, that foot gives
Yeah.
you got time to react. Yep, between the generator and the floodgates.
I think it's good. I think it does. That's all I have on mine.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. All right, thank you very much. All right, that brings us to, we've now voided item 5, which was the public hearing for the item that was pulled. And then we can proceed down now to item 6.
No, sir.
No, sir, I'm sorry.
No. The item that was pulled was
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
new business.
You are correct. No, I wrote delete on that. Yeah, so we have a public hearing now upcoming on a request to secure a USDA loan. And so we have a motion to go into public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We have no one signed up for the public hearing. No one, is there any comment while we're on this subject, Shannon? Sam? This was my understanding, it was just kind of a perfunctory hearing to see if anybody had any input to make on our plan to seek USDA funding for the repairs on the dam. And we're in the process of discussing this with USDA, with their regional office. I can just report that we've had at least a meeting and possibly a conference call about this. The options that seem to be available to us are two programs. One has to do with water and sewer funding, and there's some connectivity USDA thinks they could make, or we could make, between the fact that we have the sewer in the lake and the sewage plant behind the dam, could connect that somehow to dam renovation funding. We are skeptical. I said that would be an understatement with our plan to go to low-pressure sewers and to possibly move the treatment plant from behind the dam. And so the second program is, what is that called? Community Facilities program. And so we're following up with the USDA office to see if, which is going to be the best option for us. And then we've got W.R. Martin under contract with us to help us prepare an application for whichever program makes sense. I would say this, that I think timing-wise, where we are right now, it's a bit premature to be marching down the avenue of an application when at this point we're not very confident about the estimated costs and the specific renovations that will be made, and I doubt that we would be at that point until sometime in January.
Probably so. I think doing this helped tease things up for us to apply as quick as we need to apply once we know what those costs are after Schnabel does their fee.
And having a public hearing, Sam, was one of the things that USD recommends in the process, and so we just had that. If there is no public comment, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
That motion.
Commissioner Kilby makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A second. I'll go with Commissioner Moore. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, let's get back on the agenda. Now, we move into the council liaison reports and comments. Somebody
I'll go first.
All right, John. Commissioner Moore.
Zoning board and asset management board did not meet last month.
No wonder. Who wants to go second? Commissioner Weber.
Unfortunately, I have a rather lengthy report.
Go first.
I was supposed to come back this month with Parks and Recreation Board recommendations on the speed limit change proposal and the traffic direction within Morse Park. Unfortunately, the Parks and Rec Board did not have a quorum and did not meet, so we don't have that information. That's why it's not on the agenda this month. So it should be ready for next month. As far as the Board of Adjustment and Lake Structural Appeals Board, they did not vote, so there's no report. Like I said, it was going to be lengthy tonight, but
Anybody else have a report?
You guys are gonna hate me.
Commissioner Cameron, I know he has a report.
I've got a report because we had the regular meeting of the Lake Lure Utilities Advisory Board, October 2nd at 2 p.m. And as we earlier discussed, most of that meeting was regarding the discussion on this E1 sewer systems. It was quite informative. I think everyone there, Richard Glassen, one of the board members, helped set all this up. He actually did a lot of engineering in sewer systems, so we're lucky to have a board that's very knowledgeable and full of engineers on water and sewer systems. So This E1 proposal they gave us was basically discussing their pumps, their ability, and what they do is, once you get the layout from our Brown Engineering, and we get the piping locations and what we're looking for, they will actually do the pipe sizing, the pump sizing, the grouping of the pumps, whether single or duplex pumps. So it was quite informative, and we spent the whole meeting basically going over that. So I think we're looking for one or two more proposals and information. They're all basically looking to get spec'd onto this project as far as engineering specs. So we'll have one or two more once that's made, and we get Brown Engineering to go ahead and get their piping locations and elevations. Then hopefully we can pick a company that we want to work with and go forward from there.
Sounds
And that
good.
was it.
Good. Commissioner Kilby? Have some,
Let's pass those down. I'm just gonna take long, but I do think this is important for citizens. $232,000 of that is mixed beverage sales for the restaurants and bars, and $3,000 of that's wine sales. That's an unfortified product, I guess, that they don't have much there. They have a little bit and have to class it separately. So the gross revenue for the ABC store is $919,544. Of that, $194, almost $195,000 went back to the state for excise tax. $19,000, almost $500 went back to the state for mixed beverage tax. $1,941 went back to the state for mixed beverage tax human resources. $2,357 went back to the state for rehabilitation tax, and $224 went back to the state for wine sales tax, for a total of $218,896 that went back to the state for taxes, which left a net sales for the ABC store of $700,648. Deduct the cost of sales, that was the cost of the retail, the wholesale cost of the beverages sold, and that was $471,203, which left a gross profit on sales of $229,445. You go to your operating expenses. Operating expenses totaled $193,806. That includes rent on the building and stuff that happens there, which left a total income for the ABC store of $35,639. And that, out of that now,
Since going back to the state.
total distributions to the town from the ABC store for year ending June 30th, 2018, is $40,143. So that'll just give you an idea about our ABC store, how it works, how the taxes go, how the operating expenses are the employees, and there's some there full-time have benefits, and we have to do some, the police department gets some money there for that, and we have to do training, alcohol, provide money for rehab, and different things that are thrown into that. So all that's in this complete report. I wanted to read it to all of you, and Stephen would let me, so if it's here, if anyone wants to come and see it. I'm going to hold you. And that's for ABC, for LAB. We had a great meeting, I thought, Dean. We got the fifth buoy. I appreciate it. I already can tell a difference in people coming down at the dam. We're getting some real looks and comments, and I hear some people don't realize how much I can hear when they're in a boat talking about those idiots decided to put these buoys down here, but it's pretty amazing from the top of my boathouse. One of the things we're focusing on, LAB is, and we've got some great people on that committee, and Dean's doing a good job in coordinating that too, and that's, we're going to focus on education about no wakes, and what that means, and where you're supposed to use, travel with non-motorized vessels, paddle boards and kayaks, and we're going to really put some effort into that. LAB is, they're talking about putting together a video, maybe to have on our website, to have on YouTube, a training video. We're talking about when people come here, getting together a program where people come to buy their permits for non-motorized and motorized. They're going to have a statement to sign that they understand what a no-wake buoy is, what a no-wake area is, what the restrictions are. I will tell you that I'm a proponent of, once we get this training in place, and we've done it for a while, we start issuing citations for people that don't obey. As I'm telling you, we're going to have tragedy, somebody get killed here, especially in a non-motorized vessel, and it's going to be, so we're going to ask for signed statements from people. When they say, well, I didn't know that, and that with their permit that they filed, we've got to think it's, they signed, they did know it. They can't come to the Marine Commission and ask to get out of their ticket very easy if they've already signed that they knew it. So we discussed we had a big discussion again, as we sent back to the LAB about fishing guide, towing restrictions for fishing guides, and you'll have that before the Marine Commission meeting, which is in December. I can tell you that the committee, the LAB, feels like the decision made this year for the person to continue because he was given the permit, but they're not in favor of that, of towing permits being issued to people who have fishing guides. And we discussed a lot about the storm cleanup. Anything I missed, Dean? Okay, so that's my report from the LAB. I appreciate your patience with me.
We saved all our time for you.
I know, I can tell you did. Thank you.
All right. Okay, well, I think that wraps up the reports, and that brings us to item 7, which is public comment, and we have one person, Jim Proctor, our former mayor. He signed up to speak. Jim?
Mayor, council, good evening. Thanks for letting me speak. I wasn't real sure if I should have spoken when Dean was up here or now, but I'm going to speak now since it didn't seem appropriate the other time. First, I want to thank the council and your staff for taking dredging seriously. Obviously, we haven't done as much as we should the last few years, and there's a new company hired, and they have a dredge that I was really, really happy to see was the appropriate size, and we haven't had in a long time. I do, however, have some concerns. I was really, really surprised this weekend to hear the dredge running. Typically, the town doesn't dredge until after Thanksgiving, just so folks like our business and other businesses don't have to listen to the noise. And here it is, not even the leaf season, and I didn't even know about it, and the dredge is running on the weekend. Well, Dean's out of town. I called him, but he was lucky to be able to talk to the dredgers. But I can tell you right now that the customers I had this weekend were upset that they're supposed to have a romantic getaway, and they're listening to a dredge right outside their cabin. Well, that's just wrong. It's wrong that I wasn't informed, and if I had been informed, then I would have told them and given them the opportunity to come some other time. But as it is, if we're going to be running the dredge now all the way through leaf season, I'm going to lose thousands of dollars. That's all there is, and I don't think that's right. Now, supposedly, I heard tonight there's a dredging plan. Well, I don't know what the dredging plan is, and I don't know that is there a specific time on the dredging plan? Are they going to do like they used to do and wait till after Thanksgiving? Or are they going to start running now? It sounds like they're going to start running now. I asked Dean and I asked Shannon, and they said, well, I don't know. Well, somebody has to know. I mean, what is the dredging plan, and what can I expect as a business owner to tell my customers? The mayor in the Breeze wrote an article saying they were going to be up at near the Waits property. Well, for me, that's not a big deal, because that's not near our property, even though we can hear the dredge, it's not right outside our door. But if it's going to be right outside my door, we need to know it. We need to tell our customers that hey, it's going to be noisy. And the whole idea of, in January, February, if you want to run it all day long, fine. But this time of year, it's really impacting me, just the noise alone, not to mention the turbidity and the sight of the dredge. Anyway, it would just be really, really nice for for somebody in the town to let adjacent property owners know when that thing's going to start, and so we can prepare for it. Anyway, I was just really taken aback this weekend when I heard it, and then found out that it's basically started, and I didn't know it was going to start.
And that was just temporary for Saturday, right? When he just or how long did he run it Saturday?
It wasn't very long. As soon as Jim called, I called him and told him to stop what he was doing.
It ran most of the day before I called Dean, because I thought it was just going to be an hour or two, and it just kept going on and on and on.
From the previous comments and the previous discussion, I think it was evident the plan is not to dredge on weekends. And that's when you were talking about possible authority and doing email if needed. So the plan is not to dredge on weekends.
But is the plan to start right now?
I think it is, because...
I never got a straight answer, but it sure sounds like it is.
Yes. Well, and I think it is, because, and that should be obvious by now, but we've had so much more dumped on us, and last year we had to cut it short because we did terminate the contract with the contractor. So we never achieved last year what we wanted to achieve, and then this year we've had so much more. Alberto dumped 2 years worth of dredging required on us, and because of all that excess, yeah, we need to do what we can this year as soon as we can.
Jim, I'll tell you, I followed up with Dean after you called, and I did say during the telephone conversation, you let me know that Dean said that dredging was underway, and I said, well, I'll defer to Dean, because he certainly knows more than I do about that subject. I am new to the position. But I did follow up with Dean, and based on my conversation with Dean, if you came in my office anytime today and asked me whether or not dredging was underway, I would say yes, absolutely. That is what we're doing. We're dredging. We're gearing up to dredge. That's what we're going to do. So that's my answer to you.
No,
Can I say,
say one thing, but the only reason for the delay was, wasn't sure when the barge was going to get here, the dredging barge. And so that was where the gray area was, and that's why really nobody actually knew the start date, because of the weather we've been having. There was a delay getting the barge here. So that's one reason nobody probably had an answer for you, is the barge just came in, last week?
So the tradition of waiting till Thanksgiving's out the window, it sounds like.
It is this year.
So you don't care about the businesses?
Jim, we already
say that.
Okay, so let me just ask one question. John, let me ask one question. Is there any way to...
I have something to put here.
Okay.
It's not quite fair to come up here and say that that's not fair when when your business is located next to the dredging pits. I mean, this is where we have to dredge. We have to dredge for the benefit of the whole town, and we'll accommodate you as much as we can, but we can't alter the schedule around your guests.
But couldn't you at least have given me a schedule, or told me you were going to start before you traditionally do? I mean, how would I know to even ask, because you've never done that before?
Has that been the policy in the past, Dean? I'm not aware of it myself. I'm not aware of it.
Not of a policy. I mean,
Have we ever started before Thanksgiving?
no, not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't, all the things I've been involved, I didn't know there was a set time we start. I knew there was just, we had to wait till a certain time to start.
Well, generally, in the past, the town would start usually after Thanksgiving and dredge up till November, but that's when we were on a regular dredge cycle, and we've been dredging. Communicating with you guys last year, once we got the grant in place that says you got to spend $300,000 this year, $300,000 the next year, and with having to fire the last contractor, we're way behind. And the consensus was we've got to meet the deadline on the money that we have to spend, and the consensus was start dredging right after peak season as fast as we can, because we've still got to spend X amount of dollars and get so much out of this lake in order to get the return on the money and to open this lake up.
Yeah, and there's no reason why, you know, if it's your business and you're responsible for it, so there's no reason why you can't call up here and ask when we're going to dredge too. Because some of this is you know, the things that affect it, like a couple of years ago, we were ready to dredge, and they said we're gonna have to have a mining permit. We found that out at the last minute, so we're ready to go, and then, it gets put off. So those sort of things happen. If anybody should know, you should.
Right, I should know, and I do know that for my lifetime, the dredging has never happened before Thanksgiving. So how would I know? But here's a question, is there any way to have the dredge either where the river channel meets the main channel, which is away from me, or right next to here so you guys can listen to it instead of me?
Wherever you move it, it's gonna be moving away from one person and into another. I think that, our contractor is, we pretty much leave it up to the contractor, don't we, Sean? Or Dean?
Well, I would defer to Dean and ask about, when we say dredging plan, do we have site-specific areas that we're going to dredge?
The entire river channel from where the little creek that goes behind, goes up to the Boys Camp property, that little creek up there, basically from there down to the main channel is all going to be dredged. That's where we're going to try to create the trap. If you get north of that or up the river from that, they're getting into too much rock. And the dredge can't pull through that rock. It has to be in sediment.
It's all hydraulic dredging right now, right? Okay. And the last dredging contractor talked to us about the capabilities of dredging. He could be in the center of a lake and dredge Rumbling Bald. But we found out some other things that contractor told us, which wasn't true, and found out he couldn't even do the job at all. Beside the point, so with this new dredger and new contractor, does he have to actually be set up where he is? What made him choose the spot he chose? Can he be remotely set away from a particular spot and still do that hydraulic dredging and pump it?
Does he have a
Does that slow it down and impact the output and the end product that we need to achieve?
Well, yes and no. Part of it is he's got another load of pipe coming. He can only stretch so far right now.
Okay.
So he's got another load of pipe that's on its way here that will help him extend out into the lake.
Okay.
But the main goal was, after discussing with the LAD and discussing with y'all, was to dig a pit in the river.
Right.
That pit's gonna have to be south of that creek next to the Boys Camp roadside, down toward the choke point at Miss Waite's house. That pit's gotta be in that soft area.
Yeah.
So I don't see how it's going, we gotta get the pit so we can catch the sediment. That's the area that it's gonna be in.
Okay. If his determination was that is absolutely where he needs to be to achieve that objective, then I have to support that. All right? Now, the pit we dug last year is already gone. It's full. I mean, because of Alberto, it filled up. So, I'm telling you, this is a struggle.
Right now, he doesn't have enough pipe on scene to reach down to Nancy Waite's house. What you see out there in the river curved around, that's all he's got. But he does have other pipe on its way to him.
He also told me if he goes too much past Nancy Waite's house, as he gets out in the middle, he's probably gonna have to have a booster pump, which was expensive, and he hasn't purchased that yet.
And a booster pump will also have to come with a barge.
Yeah.
For the pump to actually rest on.
Can you at least contact Tim tomorrow and inform him of Mr. Proctor's concerns and the discussion and see what he has to say? I mean, if it's something he can help rectify and still achieve the objective, great. If he can't, then I'd say we need to achieve our objective. And I'm sorry for the impact that it would have on you, but you well know the importance of maintaining the lake for the entire citizenry.
Sure, I totally understand that, but it would be nice if it was away from my business, at least during one of the biggest times, between the hurricane and the equestrian center fiasco and the wettest spring of my lifetime. Our business is down.
Now I do agree that we need to maybe put a message out on the website and our Facebook page that the dredging has begun, what the hours are gonna be, and let the folks know, yes, you should have probably been made aware, and we should have probably had that message go out sooner. I agree with that. And sorry it didn't, but,
Yeah, I agree that the communication could have been better. It always can be better. Never seen perfect communication. But, you know, to the extent of there being a dredge out there and it operating, to the extent we've talked about tonight, I don't see any way around that. That's just, I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's the only option we have.
Can one of you two call Jim tomorrow and just let him know the outcome after the conversation with Tim, and then also his forecast on where he's gonna be, kind of give him an idea where he'd be.
Is this mostly your reservations for the weekends? Friday, Saturday?
Up until Thanksgiving, I've got reservations during the week too. But now, after Thanksgiving, as you know, you've done vacation rental, it drops off quite a bit. In January, February, I don't, you know, we have customers, but it's certainly not that many, but anyway, that's okay.
Let's do that. Thank you, Jim.
thank you.
Okay. All right, well, that concludes the public comment and moves us into the consent agenda. And we heard there were some changes. I think by consensus, we agreed to that. So is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with item A amended, item B amended, and item D deleted as previously discussed.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cameron seconds it. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'll make a motion, we skip unfinished business and new business and go straight to adjournment, because there is no unfinished business.
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Well, wait, I made a motion to skip those.
Mr. Weber had the floor.
I'll second the motion on that.
Okay, let's skip those items.
Yes.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion to adjourn, second? Aye. Aye. All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right.
I was not going to